How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another episode of the Tactical Empire. Today, I'm here with Sam Kaufman, who is a business coach at WinRate Consulting. He is a podcaster of his own right. His podcast is Never Stop Building, and he is the CEO of his own construction company, On the Level.
Yeah, it's kitchen and bath remodel, and I also own a flooring store under that same umbrella. So,
okay, how long have you been doing that?
My whole adult life, actually.
Okay.
So that business is just over 6 years old, but I've been in that. That was the first industry I entered, like when I entered like the real world. So at 22.
I got you. So you're just a young buck. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. How's and you guys live in Charleston, South Carolina?
Yep. We are here in South Carolina, Charleston. We're like 25 minutes right off the coast here. So super close to the beach, beautiful little tropical city.
See, we think the same thing about Houston. We're about 38 miles from the ocean, and people don't really think of Texas and think that like we would have like the Gulf Coast weather, but we have all of that humidity and heat and all of it.
Yeah, well, first of all, Texas is a country in and of itself. The first time I flew into Dallas, I got coffee at this place, and I was like, "Hey, just out of curiosity, like, how far is the beach from where we are right now?" They're like 9-hour drive, like 9-hour drive, like 9-hour drive to a coast. They were like, "Yeah, you're in Dallas, dude. You're in the middle of land." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, okay,
yeah. You can drive literally all day long and never leave the state. I think we are 11 hours, maybe 13 hours from El Paso, which is like the western tip. And we still, you can drive east another 90 miles. So, I mean, you put it all together, you could probably drive 15 hours in a day and never leave the state, just straight across.
It's both incredible and frightening at the same time. So, like my little South Carolina, you go in and out in 2.5 hours. Done.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually just talked about homeschooling. You guys are going to pull your kids out?
Yeah, you want to hop right into it, huh?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so I've been, man, I have been, so a little back. My wife was actually a school teacher. I have had this view of the public school system for many years. So, and the reason for this, like quite honestly, like I barely graduated high school. Okay. And I ended my high school career as a drug addict. And so like my public school, like experience was not good. The school was great. I went to one of the best public schools in the country in New Jersey. I'm not going to go that far, but literally like ranked in the top 10 schools, and I ended up leaving as a drug addict, barely graduating, having a horrible experience. Now, so like when I got, and like, look, like not to whatever, but like I'm fairly successful now. You know what I'm saying? And so like I've always had this really strong view that the public education system is a production line for factory workers. And that it's just creating, it indoctrinates people into believing that there is only one way to live life: go through school, 9 to 5, go to college, work for somebody else, act like a 401k and a pension is going to give you some sort of retirement at 65 or 70 if you're lucky, and then die by 80. And I've hated it. And so I've had to be kind of quiet. Like my wife like went and like got a degree and like was teaching. And so there was like a time where she was like, dude, you got to stop with all this. Like, that's my career. Like, and so I had to like, it was fine. Like I love my wife. She's a great teacher. She did it for 2 years and left. So working in the system totally reshaped her. She had a very successful school life, full rides, academic scholarships to colleges. She was very successful. And I was very unsuccessful in the same environment.
Yeah.
So we had like differing opinions. Then she went to work there and it changed her entire outlook on the situation. And so I've been like real vocal about just hating, my son's got like diagnosed with ADHD. He's 10. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's the smartest kid I've ever met in my entire life. And I've despised the fact that they have to force him to learn in a way that he just doesn't learn well.
Yep.
It's not meant for him. He's got the brain of a CEO. He's a visionary. Like everything you and I know about the real world, that kid is going to run a $1 billion company one day with the way he thinks and behaves. Yep. And he wants to innovate everything and build and create and think. And he's not allowed to do that for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 months out of the year. So at some point, he's going to become miserable and depressed and isolated and lonely because he's going to spend his whole life being told that he's fucked up, that he's not like everybody else, that he's wrong, and he has to stop and he has to sit and listen. And it's just been killing me for like years. And so we've talked about it and we've like, like we want to, but we don't, like the sacrifice. And we didn't really know much about it. Right. And then we went through this virtual, horrendous virtual school experience during the pandemic. And we were like, no, if this is what homeschooling is like, we can never do this. Cause I don't want my kids staring at a screen for 8 hours a day either.
Agreed.
Right. And so I said, I'd rather them be in school around other kids than staring. I didn't know that homeschooling was actually like this incredible form of freedom. It's not staring at a screen. It's not any of that. The curriculum is open to the parents. And don't you find, I said this to my wife the other day, we're looking at the South Carolina site and it's like, you can do whatever you want. We fully trust you to teach your kids in whatever setting you want using this loose curriculum and as long, and I looked at my wife and I said, isn't it fucking hilarious that once it's not state funded anymore, they even acknowledge that everything they do is unnecessary? They don't care anymore.
Yep.
They can get into college. Nothing changes. They're just like, hey, now that we're not in charge of it and it's not tax funded, you can teach them however you want. We fully acknowledge that kids learn a multitude of ways. We're just not willing to do it. I was like, holy shit. So yes, we are. We are pulling, starting next year. We're going to start this August. We're going to start the homeschooling thing, and it's going to be, I think, amazing, dude. I travel like you. I mean, you know how it is. We travel. We have monthly fly-ins. We have we have all these things, and I don't have to leave my family behind every single time anymore. We can do so. Like, it's just, I'm excited. Now I have no experience with it. So maybe we talk again in 6 months and I'm like, hey, please, for the love of God, parents, don't do this. I don't think so though, man. I think my wife and I have a vision of how we want to live our lives. And this public school structure, and I'm going to call it indoctrination. This public school structure and indoctrination is in complete opposition to how we believe life can and should be lived. And so we feel a calling to pull it and show our kids what life can actually be like if that's how they want it to go.
Well, I mean, it starts with setting the example, and like part of what this podcast is all about, it originated as the tactical empire, meaning like build your empire tactically. But I talk about reverse engineering your lifestyle all the time. And like, so, I mean, that's identical to what we've done. And we pulled our kids out 2 years ago, and like I told you, but they go everywhere with us. Like we're on our second RV. It's sitting out in front of my house. That's why I'm pointing at it. But we're on our second RV, and we travel as a family all the time. So like I haven't flown in 2 years, so we have RV'd everywhere. And I'll have speaking engagements or things I have to do, and we'll RV to an RV park, and I'll go do my thing and work and come back. And now my wife is way more involved in her business. And so like she's traveling, doing shit. She's at MDM this weekend, hosting a panel and shit. So like we are busy. And what it does is it really exposes your kids to all kinds of different things. And also you can get done what's necessary in a couple hours in a day. And then they can focus on what they want to focus on. Meaning like We have the shit we have to teach them, curriculum we have to get through. And that literally takes 90 minutes.
Yep.
And then they have the rest of the day to do whatever they want to do as far as like pursuing their own creativity or adventure and like physical fitness, whatever we want to do or work on. Like it's wide open. Then like if you reframe it like in the entrepreneurial mindset where like I'm eyeballing everything as a tax deduction, like you can change your mindset to eyeball everything as an educational opportunity, because like we travel and we go places and we teach about history, like on the ground, touching the things, like tactilely, like this is what happens right here, or this is what happened right here. And I think that, I don't know, maybe they like it, maybe they don't. They tell me they like it. It seems like a really cool way to learn personally. And I think 20 years from now, they're going to be like, holy shit, we lived just a crazy cool life because of the way our parents chose to bring us up.
Yeah, 100. Dude, yes. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
Yes.
I was going to say they could go the other way and be like off the wall.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because when I look back, and you talk to almost anybody, but I look back on my life and I got to tell you, I don't have, and I know some people do, but I don't have lasting relationships with people that I went to 7th grade with. I just don't. They're gone. I've evolved, I've changed, I've grown. And I know some people do, but I don't think that's a good enough excuse. So you talk about like tax deductions, man, whether or not they know it, when they enter adulthood, they're going to be dangerous. Yeah. I get to teach my kids how to set up a calendar. I know, and I had to learn this as an adult, but 30 and 40 and 50-year-old men and women that I deal with in the coaching space and that don't know how to schedule their time. Mm-hmm. Like don't know how to schedule themselves. I had to teach my kids how to schedule themselves. I get to teach my kids about it. I get to bring my kids into the office with me to show them how to create estimates, how to close deals, learn about stuff that actually matters.
Yep.
Learn history. We're in South Carolina. We've got my father moved here, retired, and moved here a couple of years ago, sold his house in New Jersey and came down to be full-time grandpa. So like we sat him down and he's going to pick him up a couple times a week and take him. There's all of these historical, like Civil War, like bases and sites all over South Carolina. They get to do that every week to learn about history instead of, and like for my daughter learns well in the tech, but like my son, I know for a fact, a kid comes home, I'm like, what'd you do today in school? He's like, I have no idea. I have no idea, but I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm grumpy, and I don't feel good.
Yep.
That's it. That's all that gets remembered. I don't feel good and I'm unhappy for 10 months out of the year until 3 p.m. Yeah. What a fucking lifestyle. But that's what preps you to become an adult who is conditioned and okay with being miserable, unfulfilled, and unhappy from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
They don't have 100%. To live that way now,
100%. Yeah. Yeah. You guys, the interesting thing is you're going to have to get really comfortable with like the idea of patience because there's no like barriers anymore. Yeah.
Well, we're done.
It's a lot from time to time. And because you do spend an inordinate amount of time with your kids after you make that decision. And so but we just doubled down and put them in an RV. So we're like, okay, we're going to spend an inordinate amount of time with you in a very small space too. And so let's do that.
Well, it doesn't get much worse than that. So like in that scenario, you just went straight to the worst case scenario. If you can survive that, you've got anything covered.
Right. Exactly.
We won't be doing that. We've already decided there's no RVs. There's no catamarans and being stuck on the ocean. Like we're going to do this a little tactically, but I've been thinking about that too. Like yesterday, I planned my schedule out for this week and next week. We got MDM coming up and there's just a bunch of moving parts. And I was looking through my calendar and I was like, man, if I do this intentionally, I can bring my daughter to these 2 things on Tuesdays and she can learn this and this, and I can bring my son here on Friday. And if I'm intentional and I'm tactical about this, it doesn't have to be, yes, it will require a level of patience I'm sure I have not developed yet. But it can be, I think that's going to be my biggest hurdle and challenge as a father, is being comfortable with the idea of having this conversation with my son sitting right here. The idea of having that Zoom call with the client, with my son right there, and just understand. And like, I don't live differently in one place or another. Like, I'm the same Sam, whether I'm in Dallas or Charleston or Charlotte, or it doesn't matter. But there's still that little level of like, all right, so like I go to work and like I turn it on, and then I come home and I turn it down. And there's going to have to be a little bit of like I'm going to have to be okay with turning it on with my kids around, and kind of like get comfortable with that little idea, and not have to, I can't always isolate myself anymore to like turn up the heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. It's fun to watch your kids grow though. Like our oldest is 9, but she's just been explosive in her development as just like a funny ass kid since we like have pulled them out of school. I feel like there was an aspect of her in kindergarten and first grade where she was like trying to kind of feel out her social setting. Like she didn't know herself, and like she was still trying to get to know that through like friend circles and things like that. Right. And I feel like she has gained so much confidence in her individuality since we pulled her out of school, and she's hilarious, and she just talks shit. And like, if I was changing who I was, like she would be calling me on it 100%. And so that part's kind of, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And they get to do a lot of things. Like I do real estate investing. And so the kids are traveling with me all the time and getting exposure to all of that side of things. Cause I mean, we buy shitty properties and rehab them and renovate them and rent them. So it's just an interesting way to grow up. What do you guys do? What are you interested in doing outside of work? What are your hobbies? What do you guys do?
My personal hobbies?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm going to be honest. I was out to dinner 2 weeks ago. A group of flooring retailers came, and I participated in like a Q&A thing and like led them through our show. Long story short, we ended up out to dinner, and somebody asked me that same question, and I was like, what do I do for fun? Honestly, man, running my businesses, that is literally my hobby. So like work, I know it sounds bad but work is my legitimate hobby. I love it. Being on this podcast with you, I love, like, this is what I do for fun. Now what I do, like I exercise every single day. I'm real into my health and fitness, but like it all kind of just comes back to what I do for fun is really kind of that. You know what? My favorite thing to do is, outside of everything at period, is be in the ocean. I could probably, if somebody was like, hey, look, you shut everything down right now and you can just live on a beach with like a jet ski and like a beach house, fully taken care of the rest of your life, I would strongly, that's the only thing that I would strongly consider, like, ooh, man, that actually sounds not too bad. Like, and it's not the relaxation part. There's just something about ocean and beach. I just feel really at home. Yeah.
I like it.
Yes. Really at home. So that's my new answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really have any hobbies either. So don't take it personally. Good. But I mean, like, being a dad is like my favorite thing to do. And so outside of work, which I treat like a competition in a game, which I really fucking enjoy competing, and I love working, like, taking care of my family is like what I do. So I guess as you were stepping through that, I was like, what if he flips the question on me? And I was like, I don't have anything. I can appreciate what you're saying, that you like to just work. And I don't think that's crazy, because like there's probably a lot of us like that, quite frankly.
Yeah. Look, I feel for the last 9 or 10 years of my life, I've very, very actively and very, very painfully worked my ass off at building a life where, on a 99% of what I do on a day-to-day basis, I enjoy.
Yeah.
And years ago, if you had asked me what that would look like, I would have said, oh, like retirement, like doing nothing is the goal. And what I found is that the actual goal is filling your life so full of activities that you enjoy, and
Yeah.
not like activities like, oh, I play tennis all day. Like, now, if that is your activity, like, more power to you. But really, I built a life in which most of what I do on a day-to-day basis, I enjoy. Now, I don't enjoy every aspect of what I do. I love podcasting. I hate uploading the video for 22 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, there's all the steps in each thing, but, I started doing that before I worked for like, I was enjoying what I did when I worked for somebody else. I found, I'm not like in agreement with the idea that, I believe you can find fulfillment and passion doing anything. I just feel and believe that, truthfully, deep down, there's always a ceiling point where it's time to raise that ceiling. And for a lot of people, that's not working for someone else, or that's, taking your fitness to the next step, or running a marathon or Spartan. Like, there's always a next step where we always become like, well, okay, like, I did this really well for a while, so what now? And I feel like that's where people kind of get lost. It doesn't matter if, like, business owner, entrepreneur, or employee, or I don't feel like any of the titles are important. I feel like what's important is you recognize that you've hit that kind of like that glass ceiling that you set, and then you got to set a new one. You have to. That's where we start. When that ceiling gets hit and we think there's nowhere left to go, it starts to get depressing, and lonely.
Well, I think frequently you have to analyze your life and figure out what's not serving you anymore. Because certain things at certain periods of time are functional. Like, that job might have been functional for that period of time, right? Because you didn't have the skill set or the knowledge to move on beyond it. So it was nice to have at that point in time. My wife and I are huge about, like, auditing our lives as well, as far as, like, what is causing you pain or friction, and, like, eliminating it. So, like you say, uploading your podcast, like, don't do it anymore then. Find somebody to do it. Like, solve it. Right. Solve it. Like, my wife hates folding laundry, so we have a lady that folds our laundry. Like, there's solutions for everything. And I think that people oftentimes get caught up with not taking initiative to solve their own issues. They would rather oftentimes just, like, feel the pain instead and bitch about it than to just solve the issue.
I agree. I think people, and that's kind of right in line with, like, the title thing I was saying, where, like, people get this impression, like, once I'm blank, everything will be fine. Mm-hmm. Not why, though. So, like, once I have more money, everything will be less tense in my house. Why? Because you have more money in the account? Because I promise that won't work. All right, but if it's once I have enough money to hire someone to fold laundry so my wife doesn't have to, so she's happy every day when I get home, and that's a different goal. Yep. Having more money for the sake doesn't solve anything, but hey, I want more to allocate to, I want a full-time maid and nanny, because we fight every single day about that. We don't actually, but, like, if that's the mentality, that will shift how you set the goals up. I totally agree with that. Same with the business. Like, we hire for where you want to be, not for where you're at. Build up to what you want to get to. Saying, like, so let's say at the renovation company, like, we're behind on hiring a project manager because we're behind on current projects does not serve us 6 months from now. We need to hire 2 right now. 1 to cover what we're behind on, and 1 to set up for what we're going to do in 6 months. If we just keep backtracking, we're just always going to be tense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So Sam coaches contractors specifically, for the most part. And for the most part. What is one of the most common things you're seeing in that industry with business owners that's holding them back?
The phrase, nobody wants to work. The phrase, nobody wants to work. I will tell you right now, and my team is well aware when we talk, because, like, we partner with like different companies around the area. We bring in, like, other GCs, we use subcontractor installers. When we interview somebody, if at any point in that conversation, that person says, well, yeah, I mean, but nobody wants to work, they're immediately off my list of people that we will partner with. Tons of people want to work. You don't want to be a good leader. You don't want to change how you're doing business. You don't want to pay better. You don't want to implement core values. You do not want to do hard things to keep people on your team. Tons of people want to work. When we run, bro, I have never hurt for staff. I have never hurt for good applications. We get people DMing us. We're so active on our social media, and like not just about project completion, but about team building. We get DMs weekly with people looking to work for us. We have project managers from major building companies, national building companies hit up my project. Hey man, when you're ever hiring, like, let me know. I'd really consider like making a move from here. Dude, I can't pay anything close to what they're paying, but they're miserable. So my personal opinion, the big thing I see is that a large portion of this industry is stuck in a very old way of thinking, and times have changed. Times are different, and it's time for everybody to innovate. Just because it's contracting or construction, you now have a responsibility to run your business like other businesses. And it's now more than ever, post-pandemic, more than ever, people are real squirrely about working for major corporations. People want to feel involved. People want to participate. People want to know that they matter to the overall vision of the company. And contractors don't want to do that. They never had a need for it before. They got a big project. They hired it out. They made some money. They moved on. It doesn't work like that anymore. So this whole there's no one wants to work. You're full of shit, bro. Tons of people want to work. They don't want to work for you. That's the problem. And you don't want to accept and acknowledge that. Hopefully nobody that was considering hiring me heard any of that. Now they don't want to, but you know what? I'm telling the fucking truth. So you're going to hear that whether you're a client of mine or not.
Yeah. I think that that's a really good point, because that's not just occurring in contracting, though. I mean, it's all over the place. I coach business owners in different verticals as well, service industry and things like that, fitness space. And they're saying the same type of things. I think the biggest problem that we have is probably the same problem that is facing our entire country. And like, we have a severe lack of leadership, period. Like, and it's at every level, because throughout our entire lives, we've been able to abdicate all responsibility for everything.
Yep.
And so it's causing these guys who now have to step up and lead to have all kinds of problems, because it's not, it's the entire workforce is less transactional than it's probably ever been, in my opinion. Yep. And I mean, I'm 42 years old. I've been working for multiple decades, since I was 14 or 12 or something, probably before that. But it used to be transactional. Like, hey, you give me $5, I'll do that. And I don't give a shit how much you treat or how you treat me. I don't care. Like, but I think that, and I don't know what's caused the impetus for the change in the worker's attitude so much, but I think you're right in that they want to feel involved in the vision and the overall direction and like where they're going. But I mean, there's also never been a better opportunity to stand out as a great leader.
Oh yeah, 100%. And to have a successful, but what I think happened was, for a few decades, employees said, you make all the money, don't bother me. I want to work 9 to 5. Don't mess with me after work. Don't mess with me before work. I'm on lunch. I'm this, that, and the other thing. And then 25 fucking years later, they were like, I don't feel valued or appreciated or needed or want. Well, you didn't want to. You didn't want it. The entire society decided that they didn't want to do anything above and beyond what they were compensated for, because it wasn't fair. And then afterwards went, oh, I don't feel like I'm being valued. Well, you asked to be less valuable. You demanded it. You demanded respect and this and that. And you want everyone needed to be paid and treated the same no matter what. And now you feel like a cog in a machine, which is exactly what you wanted.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Just now, like maybe, everything else, they've made their own bed, right?
Yeah, and maybe, and there's a component to that on the other side, I'm sure, where like people were like the giant monopoly corporations and taking advantage of people. There's another side to that coin, and I want to acknowledge that out loud, because I do understand that it wasn't just an employee shift. There was a huge market shift in general over the last 30 to 50 years in this country. But I think that there are people, I can't explain, and I do think it's some post shutdown. Really, what happened, in my opinion, is some post people kind of woke up during and after that shutdown in 2020 and went, okay, hold on, this whole system is collapsible. So what in the hell am I doing this? I don't like my coworkers. My boss sucks. I'm not valued. There's no value system here. Like, I'm going to try something. I have talked to a lot of people in the last 12 months that are like, oh, I would like to work for you. I'm looking for a change. Do you know how many people before 12? Do you know how many people would hit me up looking for a change into construction? Not many. The state, you name why is fine. You can think of a million reasons, but not many people were looking for a change into the industry. And then all of a sudden, people are like, I'm looking for a change. I want to try something new. I don't feel fulfilled. I'd like to give this a shot. I have a project manager now, or an apprentice project manager, but he came from the fitness industry and just hit us up on Insta. He's like, dude, I've been following you guys. I don't even know why. I love all the team building content. I've been doing this for the last 10 years. I've never felt as part of a team as what your guys look like. Are you hiring? We were like, yeah, come on. That's new though. That's a new phenomenon. Like,
yeah, man. Such great insights. Such great insights though. I mean, a lot of people don't recognize that. And that's one of the unique things about getting to coach business owners, right? You get a much broader sample set of the different things going on in the marketplace than just your individual business and your 20 employees or whatever, right?
Yep.
And so that's super interesting. And I just think about that even deeper on a level of like, do you think it's because, okay, so you used to go in, punch out. Technology's changed that, obviously, right? Now you're online all the time and your cell phone is available all the time. But then there's also the aspect of like, I think those people that would do the bare minimum, like 9 to 5 and then check out, like they became less and less reliable in this new environment with technology. I mean, where you can do things.
Okay, you can't hide.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And because I used to work for a Fortune 50 company, and literally I would tell you, I think there was 2,200 people that worked at the facility where I was at, in that location. And I would tell you that probably, I don't know. I don't want to say crazy numbers, but like it literally only like 40% of people were doing anything. And the 40% that were doing anything were probably only operating at like 70% of their optimal output. And there was no such thing as like 100%.
Right.
Just because the organization wasn't set up that way.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, if you want to get 100% out of people, you got to pour into them though.
Yeah.
You know, you have to actively pour into, one of my episodes of my podcast recently where I talked about why I hate the term employee retention. And at some point in the episode, I just touched on the fact that like, if you're looking for tactical ways to keep people on your team, like that's great. But if you don't actually give a shit, I mean, truly actually care about each individual human being that's associated with your business, you've already lost. Yeah. It's already over. You can't sustain them. You can't sustain that long. Now you can do what they did and you can hire 2,200 people to get the work of 400 out of 2,200, which if you got profitability that does that, congratulations. But most Fortune 50 companies don't. They're on debt schedules. They
Right.
ain't that profitable anyway. They're borrowing money to borrow money to borrow money, which for a lot of us is not how we run and grow our businesses in the actual.
Real
I
world.
believe the small business world is the only true like capitalist sect left, because it's actually competitive. You actually have to win. You actually have to beat out the guy next door to land the job. There's actually a way to be tactical here. But you have to pour into people, and that's impossible to do if you don't care.
Yeah.
You know, you can pour in once a quarter or buy pizza on Tuesday, but can you pour in daily if you don't care? I can't. If I don't give a shit about something, dude, I am out. You know the things I care about and the things I don't care about. You can tell because I'm not there consistently.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And it's also the thing you can't fake. It's like energy. Like you can sense it. Like you can say, I care about you, but like it shows up in your actions over time and your level of consistency as well. So I think that's really good, man.
Dude, 75% of my staff has been with me for over 5 years in construction. It's almost unheard of. It's a legitimate, unwavering, I care about you. People don't stick around for 5 months. They know. You're 100% right. They can sense it based on whether or not you follow through consistently on what you say you're going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, do you have any parting shots? What do you want to tell the audience? If you were getting into construction all over again, what would you do?
Yeah, I will. I would sacrifice the speed of growth with the intention of eliminating. How do I word this? There are a lot of really toxic human beings that are really good at trades, and it's not worth keeping them on board long-term to get work done. I would sacrifice jobs, build the right team over a long period of time, and end up on the other side with the most successful contracted company on the planet, which is what we did. We started out with, we had toxic people who were really good, who could make us a lot of money, but the all of the turnover caused by toxic people spends all your profit anyway. That's the one thing I would do over. If they didn't fit our core values, I would let them go in a heartbeat. And I didn't used to do that. And it slowed down the reputation building of the business.
Yeah. That's applicable to any business. That's good. That's great advice.
Sure
great
is.
Advice, man.
It sure is.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Sam, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. I'll see you in a couple days.
Yeah, man.
Hey, where can people find you?
Cool. Wow. Whoa, that was good.
Glad I caught that.
Yeah. Facebook and Instagram are both at Sam Kaufman Official. The podcast is neverstopbuildingpodcast.com. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Shoot me a DM if you want to talk them. I answer them.
Never Stop Building, the Sam Kaufman Official. And we'll throw all those links in the show notes, guys. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you for listening to the show. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of the Tactical Empire.